Pino Spadafora from RINA, Market Development Vice President. Thank you, Capital Link, for arranging this panel. Actually, this will be hopefully an emporium of ideas, statements, comments, and I will thank you already my fellow panelists. If you don't mind, I will start of course from you, Hian. I mean, you are playing home, so we have to honor MPA and Singapore Shipping Maritime Week. We know already in 2024 you announced this strategic partnership with Amazon, and also this amazing project that you have with this digital and innovation hub. Will be nice if you tell us a little bit more about utilization of artificial intelligence with this project with Amazon, which kind of objectives you are going to achieve, and of course also the hub, which is very interesting, especially if your hub is an open hub, as today they speak, and which kind of eventually partnership you are considering to involve in this hub. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. So good morning, everyone. So very happy to be here. Thank you to the organizers, Capital Link, for inviting MPA, and also a very good welcome to everyone to Singapore Maritime Week, as well as for our foreign guests. Welcome to Singapore. So I think regarding the questions in terms of what MPA is thinking about, when we work with different technology providers, cloud service providers, as we move into AI and digitalization, I think what we are trying to achieve here is really to look at how we can optimize our operations, helping the industry to be able to achieve efficiency reduction in what they call that energy usage, carbon emissions, through better coordination of operations. So I would say that in terms of working with players like Amazon, the larger intent here is really to see how we can look at voyage planning at the shipping, at the fleet level. We are also looking at when the vessel comes into our port, whether it's in Singapore or otherwise, we are able to have very efficient ship-to-port reporting, whether it is about digital or paperless clearance. And in order to do that, then that will actually help to enhance shipping operations. And with this in mind, I think this is where we think that it's important to work with like-minded partners to create data standardization in these areas. And with this in mind, I think this is what we're trying to achieve for the initiative that we're working with Amazon as well as various different partners.
But have you already selected some stakeholders to be part of this hub?
Yeah. So maybe what I can illustrate here is that I think there are a few projects that we have started earlier. We have been working with, say, players such as the Institute of High Performance Computing, which is a research center itself. They have been working with, say, PSA Marine to look at how we can optimize harbor tuck operations. And through the use of AI, through the use of some of these fleet movements and optimization using data and the port AIS information, I think we are able to achieve around 20% reduction in terms of carbon emission as well as fuel that has been previously consumed within the port itself. Another example that I think I can cite is also working with platform providers, Schifffahrt itself. We are actually trying to look at how we can batch and deliver what you call a more coordinated launch boat operations within our port. And with this coordination and optimization of the fleet movement within the port, some 25% in terms of voyage movements within the port has also been achieved. So I would say that these are some of the illustration in which the use of AI, the use of digitalization to share information has been very helpful within the port itself, and some of these benefits also stream upwards to benefit the shipping companies who call it the Singapore port.
Thank you. Ashish, Malik from Anglo Ardmore Ship Management. You are the managing director. We have seen how many millions you are investing in efficiency, green technology, retrofitting, around 25 millions, if I remember well. So I was wondering, artificial intelligence, how is helping you in trying, of course, to accelerate the return on the investment of this such capital that you are utilizing.
Yes, good morning. And what you say is correct. I think today we are in this cusp of change where we have artificial intelligence which can be used quite effectively. So the big changer, I would say last 2 years back, was Starlink, which came in and brought in a lot of high-speed data. So when we have high and more reliable internet coming from the ships, we have an opportunity to use the data that we are getting. So we have been capitalizing on that. We are using quite a few AI tools. So when we talk about efficiency, when we talk about optimization, I think this is where the added benefit is very, very obvious. So we are using DeepSea platform, which is linked to Albase and which is linked to WeatherWelt. So basically what we are doing is we are having the ship performance, we are having an AI algorithm, and then we also have the weather conditions. So we are combining all these and getting a very, very optimum route. So this is a very basic, this is one of the things which we have found to be quite beneficial.
Just to understand, because behind there is Anglo Eastern, I understood. So are you extending some of the software, some of the solution that you had in Anglo Eastern also for Ardmore? Or?
So basically within Anglo Eastern, we are following quite a few initiatives. And this is one of them. So we have one team which is looking at all the options that are available in the market, all the initiatives that are being taken by the various clients, various principals, and then rolling it out across the various, then basically advising all the principals what they can do, what to have a better output. So it is a lot dependent on the individual principals because as you realize, it involves capital as well. But we see that there is quite a bit of interest and actually quite a bit of initiatives being taken by most of them.
Okay. Lucius, staying on the ship owner and the operational part, I know you are also co-founder of Flagship Founders. This ecosystem, which is numbering some smart application, above all Silenic, also Arinto and 044. Actually, I met yesterday your colleague Ronnie, so congratulations. So I was wondering how you are utilizing, especially Silenic, which is focusing on artificial intelligence on your fleet, or eventually if this is a service that you are proposing also to other ship owners and managers.
Yeah, thank you very much. We decided 5 years ago that the shipping industry, there still requires some more activity on developing digital solutions, and these felt that within, let's say, the normal the regular shipping family, there was a lack of knowledge helping to kind of overcome these barriers. So we reached out to Berlin, which is the ecosystem in Germany, where lots of serial entrepreneurs in the digital space have been successful. And then started, as you said, Flagship Founders, which is a company builder that basically set the goal to come up with ideas how to increase efficiency within that maritime space and to offer digital solutions. Silenic, you mentioned one, looks into using the latest developments in large language models to support both seafarers as well as people on shore to access the vast information that we require to efficiently run shipping companies, both in terms of safety and security, but also in terms of efficiency. But I believe AI is something that will change all of these business models. Kaiko Systems was the first one that we co-launched, which has just raised the Series A round successfully. And all of these startups are now looking into how to improve their services by using digital assistants, by using large language models and AI. And I think that will help change, optimize efficiency within the maritime space going forward.
Lucius, don't you think that all this population of startups, new system, new technology, they are risking somehow to jeopardize the standards? Because especially when it comes to innovative solution, it should be better to have a common standard.
Well, standards are, I guess we heard it earlier, there's lots of challenges that we face as a shipping industry at present, and it's a time of change that we need to cope with. And yes, standards will need to be reinstated going forward, so maybe there is a bit of an overkill of number of new startups, and organizations may have difficulties to adopt all sorts of new digital solutions simultaneously. We do see that there is an overload sometimes, and that it takes time to integrate new solutions. But I strongly believe there will be winners going forward. There will be a consolidation within the digital space, and the winners will then help the operational side to optimize their services.
Thank you. Gabriele Dado from Deep Sea Technology. You are partnering with Ardmore, no, for this big project, Pythia. So Pythia is a digital tool which is focusing on voyage optimization. Is purely managing and analyzing voyages, or any other components which are affecting, of course, voyage, especially, for instance, for ship like a tanker, draft, trim, and of course how you are utilizing artificial intelligence to get the utmost of this analysis.
Well, first of all, I think the important thing about AI is that it's as good as the data. So there is a fundamental barrier so far, which is the level of data quality across the industry, which is not really up to scratch. For those vessels, like the Ardmore vessels that we've been partnering with, that do have that data infrastructure in place, then it's a lot easier to build models that support that digital journey, but also with the data available in high frequency, what we can do is build digital twins of hull and machinery, and very accurately not only depict, but also predict what specific relationship is going to be between hull, fouling, weather conditions, is essentially building upon the experience of the master to create a more efficient way to sail. With Pythia in particular, which is, let's say, the product that looks at building upon these digital twins to optimize voyages and optimize consumption. What it does is essentially building a very accurate model of the vessel, disentangling the various factors between, for example, speed, trim, weather conditions, and essentially unveiling the path of least resistance between point A to point B, building upon what is the trading pattern for the vessel, whether it is on a TCE focus or simply on a focus of let's say, saving fuels and bringing down emissions. So that is done basically very efficiently through AI. And through AI, the vessel receives a set of speed suggestions that support in the reduction of the overall emissions. It can bring in significantly, it can bring down significantly the emissions for vessels. Obviously, it depends on vessel types. On smaller vessels with shorter coastal voyages, we see the impact being somewhat limited. For larger vessels which are engaged in longer voyages at faster speeds, this is where you have the most tangible savings. But certainly AI is quite, let's say, empowering to drive on the next step of the transition, purely from the point of view which is a low-hanging fruit, and it's a low-hanging fruit that goes and impacts the OPEX of the vessel, because with $20, $30 a day on top of what vessels are currently costing to operate, you're able to bring down emissions and therefore fuel consumptions by a significant percentage without having to really go and resort into heavy capex exercise to retrofit an energy efficiency device, for which it can be difficult to tell what's payback period. It really depends on the operating parameters of the vessels. With AI, you sort of broaden this payback period, and you broaden the range of operational conditions that can be benefited.
But is this a self-standing module, or is part of a digital architecture? And eventually, are you considering any API to make this in dialogue with other open system?
Yeah. So to answer the question, it is a standalone system which is built upon other, let's say, other tools which are available within deep sea. Certainly we are seeing from especially the larger and more mature shipping companies, but also some of the smaller ones, a specific drive in building solutions in-house, and this is the case for about 6% of the market that we have dealt with. There is, let's say, a desire to bring in-house that sort of AI expertise. For those type of customers, it is certainly possible to work through an API, which is one of the things that we do and we're open to doing. The most important thing is really the AI models, the machine learning algorithm behind that. So however you want to present the data, it's, that is the simple part. And that can be delivered either through a native environment like the deep sea one, or through an API into the in-house built systems, which some of the shipping companies as of today have in-house.
Chris, Vedet from Smart. I mean, you are pushing quite a lot, no? Use of artificial intelligence on data management, instilling this artificial intelligence for data management. The data, which kind of data are you focusing mainly? Procurement, maintenance, purchasing. Which kind of data are you using? For and with your system?
When we look at the various data points that we have, we cover the entire spectrum that we look at from a ship management perspective. So equipment data, maintenance data, we look at voyage data, procurement data for trends, we look at safety data as well. So if you look at the entire scope, when you look at the entire scope, you're seeing all of the various data points that are being captured. But I think my fellow panelists mentioned that I think data standards and data quality are key when we're looking at sort of enabling AI. And I think we as an industry probably need to look at data standardization in more detail. If we look towards other industries like aviation, automotive, they've had data standards in place for many years, and this has enabled the technologies and enabled data collaboration and enabled data, AI to be far more useful. So I think when we look at the industry as a whole, we should be looking more into data standardization, how we can help that. A very simple example is the noon report. We as an industry do not have a standardized noon report. Every owner, operator, management company has their own standard. We should be looking collectively to try and solve that problem. How can we solve that problem as an industry? Simply standardizing the noon report will enable us to utilize technologies far easier, AI easier, data collaboration, sharing far easier.
Are you using this data, for instance, to improve the maintenance with some predictive solution, with some condition-based monitoring system? Because this is basically the main goal, no, to utilize artificial intelligence, especially on the maintenance part.
Yeah, I think when you start looking at maintenance models. So, you know, you've got your predictive, your condition-based maintenance models. I think we're probably at the starting point of how we can improve that. And when we start looking at things such as AI, we're at the starting point of So, you know, at the moment it's generative AI, which is where we are today, which is far more simplified. But when we start looking at the next generation of AI, like agentic AI, we can start to get far smarter with our maintenance models. So not only looking at predictive and condition-based maintenance models to try and, you know, keep the asset uptime more efficient, but what if we can start moving into scenarios where systems start predicting failures, then start looking at stocks, start looking at the most efficient and optimized time to actually take that repair and automate that entire process. So when we start looking at things like agentic AI, which is the next generation, those tools enable it. But the data needs to be right first. It's the prerequisites that are key. We need to build the strong foundations first in order to enable this smarter technology that's available or is coming in the future.
Apologize if I insist, but I mean, to collect all this data, you have to do a lot of monitoring, and you need digitalization on board of any asset. I mean, ship, whatever. How difficult is to deal with the companies which are managing this system on board of a ship?
So as you said, to get the data points is quite a key point. So obviously IoT technology has become far more available nowadays, so you're able to capture real-time data from the vessels. But I also think the OEMs need to be far more amenable to provide sharing of that data as well. And historically, they've not wanted to do that, which has obviously struggled or enabled companies to struggle to try and capture that data. But I see that there's a trend now that the OEMs are actually willing to share that data to operators, owners, companies to try and enable the improvement of planned maintenance cycles.
Thank you. Jan, I know you are also yesterday during the General Assembly, they were talking about this big project of a vessel traffic management system. So you are launching this system. Actually, this is just one point about RINA. We are also working and doing a big project with we call GSAB because we are cooperating with the European Space Agency for mooring utilizing the satellite connection. So that we lost, by the way, now. So can you tell us, I mean, this system and how you are integrating also the use of the artificial intelligence, basically?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Actually, from the perspective of MPA, I think with digitalization and AI, we are transforming and reviewing the way we conduct our port operations and management. So I think you're right to point that MPA is actually developing the next generation vessel traffic management system. We are intending to look at this being an open architecture, working with some of the leading players in this field, whether it's Kongsberg, Panelists, as well as Wärtsilä, from the angle of trying to see how we can incorporate new technology and new ways of doing data analytics, managing and also anticipating some of these traffic hotspots, as well as to use AI and machine learning to enhance collision prediction and collision avoidance. The way MPA is also going to look at how we manage our port is also going beyond just going to be at the sea level itself. So today, you know, you will probably see that at any point in time, there's 1,000 vessels within our very tight water and sea space itself. But moving forward with various different activities that is going to take place within our waters, whether it is using space and satellite technology for vessel communications, as well as satellite imaging to ensure, you know, data as well as positioning of vessels for remote operations, for autonomous operations can take place efficiently. To using drones on the air for delivery as well as inspections of vessels, and all the way to underwater as well. We are also looking at new concepts and innovations relating to underwater robotics and how we can actually help some of the ship owners, operators go through a house cleaning kind of activity, you know, while the ship's call at the port. So this adds on to the one-stop services within the Singapore port, whereby you can not just do cargo change, but also crew change, bunkering, ship supply, as well as now underwater robotics activities. So I think many of you all may have attended the opening ceremony yesterday. So MPA has also launched the Maritime Digital Twin, which was intended to put together, all this information across the different layers in order to have a whole worldview in terms of all the port activities, share some of this information, especially I think there was a lot of discussion about standardization, about data, clean data being exchanged across the different parts of the value chain. I think this is what we are trying to achieve as we develop the Maritime Digital Twin, using MPA as one key source of information, and then propagating some of this relevant information to different stakeholders down the value chain so that we get efficient operations, we get safe operations, and collectively, I think this will actually help the industry move and advance forward as well.
Thank you. Lucius, just, I mean, you are, Auerbach has been always innovative. I remember in the past, we were trying to do a project for electronic logbook. But how are you engaging your personnel? I mean, in the office, but mainly on board. How they are ready? I mean, to adopt these innovative solutions.
Well, I think the key is to create something that helps, let's say, the frontline workers to have a simpler day-to-day job and not make it more complicated. So, as an example, and a lot of comments were made on standardization and the use of, let's say, time series data that you can then use in collaboration between shore and sea to optimize maintenance. We were talking about well, predictive maintenance, or let's say condition-based maintenance. I think that there are steps towards that goal that will help specifically seafarers to reduce their day-to-day administration work. So I think the key is to basically sell this, not sell it, well, develop, and Kaiko Systems is a brilliant example for this, where there's an opportunity for the seafarers to basically use the tool on their mobile phones and then go through all safety and security standards on board, but structure it in a way that allows to share this data with the office and then go into a collaboration rather than one sending Word, one sending Excel, and the third person. I mean, Chris mentioned, noon data is done in 500 different ways among, like, even on this within the same ship owning entity. If you have different captains, and sometimes they also tend to report differently. I mean, all of this, if you don't manage to standardize through regulation, you have to find tools to help standardize the information that arrives in the office to thereby improve the collaboration between sea and shore, and allow them to focus on what's important. There's too much going on in terms of bureaucracy also on board the vessels.
And actually, I mean, today the correctness of the data is, of course, what Chris was saying, but is also important because today data, especially for your new report, it means money. So if you do a mistake on the quantity of the fuel that you are burning, and we are seeing these kind of mistakes, this automatically it means more taxes to be paid, or less. It depends on exactly. Good. Ashish, we heard something about PITIA. So, I mean, from now on, what do you expect from PITIA to, of course, to reduce apart fuel consumption, but I mean, how do you want to explore more this kind of solution?
So I think the potential is quite a bit. So we are looking at various options. We are looking at augmented reality. Basically see how we can support the seafarers in navigation. we are looking at how we can do training better, where we can use the artificial intelligence in training our seafarers, in training our office staff. I think both Chris as well as Lucius mentioned very importantly about supporting our seafarers. That has to be our aim. So once we get them on board and they realize that these are the potentials, we can get them all, I think it's a win-win situation for everybody.
Okay. Gabriele, I mean, is real cybersecurity the only big challenge and constraint for all these digital solution, all these, formidable quantity of data which are flowing, or there is something else that we have to expect to manage?
Yeah, well, I think cybersecurity is certainly an interesting and an area of focus. There has been developments now with ISO 27000, which is only 3-year-old, which provides a new standard for, let's say, certification of security standards, which is what is currently employed. But I think Deep Sea, as well as other comparable services out there, do use support of commercial partners such as Amazon Web Services, which are a safety standard per se. I think perhaps the threat when we talk about cybersecurity is coming from the impending advance of quantum computing, which is going to be, let's say, the next big thing and the next big disruptor. But I think we're not quite there yet. In terms of data availability, although we have seen really big improvement in the past few years, there's always been, let's say, the bottleneck, which was availability of connectivity between vessels and data centers, clouds, or land, which is being slowly overcame over years. We've got Starlink as well. We've got a lot more vessels coming online. I think for me, in my experience, the fundamental question is how good is the data? Sometimes also high-frequency data, which we receive from sensors like fuel meters or torque meters, that type of data might not always be accurate. That's why it's quite important to have a model that can learn from the previous data and correct the data whenever it's necessary. We might assist, we might look at data which might be faulty or lagging. There might be sensors that require, let's say, calibration over time. So data and data quality and the ability of models to be able to discern the data quality and do the data fixes, let's say, dynamically, I think is one of the most important things. Obviously, the security of the data is, we need to do whatever possible to protect that, but it's not as critical in terms of, sheer potential for, disruption. There is, at the moment, let's say, the direct link between data and the possibility to hijack a vessel does not exist, because there's very few systems that connect directly the steering of the vessel with remote controllable, say, environment. What we're doing at Deep Sea at the moment is piloting a solution whereby the AI speed suggestions are directly relayed into the engine governor. So what we're doing at the moment is being able to control the engine load to optimize that. But it's still very much experimental at the moment. It's not yet commercially available, although it will be in the very short future. But I think in terms of threat to security, we should be quite reassured that we are not really facing great danger from cyber.
So the system is secured, you are saying, but apart the ISO standard that you were referring to, starting, that there are these unified requirements from IAX E27 and 26, which are applicable for only new ships starting from last June 2024 is extremely important, because these unified requirements, they are of course applicable to the ship and to the architecture that you have on board of the ship, but also to the equipment. So the equipment, when they are produced, they have to be cyber-secured type approved. Chris, have you thought, for instance, to certified your system?
So from a cybersecurity perspective, there are obviously various standards that you apply when you look at applications and systems. So, you know, you can look at ISO standards to apply. You can look at the various different security protocols that are required when you're coding applications. So from Smartseed's perspective, yes, obviously these standards are followed and governed accordingly. But I think when we start looking at cybersecurity as a whole, I think ultimately, with the emerging technologies that we have coming into play in the maritime industry, which are obviously very exciting, we want to embrace them, that does obviously present far more dangers to the vessels and to us as an industry, because, you know, a good example, and it's been mentioned before, at Starlink or LEO. So historically, communication on board the vessel was quite limited, it was slow, and then the systems that you'd be able to deploy on board the vessel were more localized using replication technology because of the restrictions you had from a bandwidth perspective. Moving forward into where we decide the next generation of communication will be, those systems have become far more real-time and online, and the number of systems that will deploy on the vessels will greatly increase. So that in itself presents a risk and a danger that we as the maritime industry haven't really come across yet. So we will have to be far more vigilant when it comes to cybersecurity on board the vessel and our systems, and ensuring that we're secure in our systems to embrace the new technologies, but also ensure that we protect the vessels, the assets, and our systems on board.
I think, Ian, you were mentioning digital twin. So if, because I see that almost we are over time, if we suppose to create a digital twin of this panel, and we transfer this panel to 5 years from now, 2030, which means a lot, because in 2030 there are a lot of gates for the shipping. There is FuelEU Maritime, OPS, there is the full ETS applicable, 100%, of course, will be in 2026, but of course also the requirements of IMO, apart this MEPC 83 that Sotiris was referring to, but of course we will have the compulsory for the shipping to utilize at least 10% of energy, green energy on board of our ship. So what do you expect, or what you wish that artificial intelligence will reach in 5 years from now in the shipping? I mean, in terms of course, silly answer will be okay. Just to comply with all these requirements will be extremely important. So this is a question for all of you, if you don't mind.
Okay, maybe I can start off, and then I will let the other panelists add on. So I guess from what we hope artificial intelligence and digitalization can lead to for the industry is really to see how basically the whole industry operations can be transformed in a way whereby I think it was also mentioned by the panel earlier, how can we blend together technology to support the workers, the crew itself, to reduce their mental workload, to reduce their fatigue, especially when, you know, the ships tomorrow are going to be more sophisticated. There are a lot more rules, compliance, and requirements in order for them to, you know, operate safely, operate efficiently. So we do see artificial intelligence and digitalization as an enabler for not just the ships itself, but also in terms of looking at how port and ship operations can be better optimized. And I would say that a big part of this in the short to mid-term will also lead in terms of how some of the activities in terms of semi-autonomous vessels could also come into play. And I think this is where I think we are also putting in quite a bit of effort working with different stakeholders to collect data on board ships, to understand, you know, how the different environmental factors affect ship operations and performance, and through cyber-physical kind of modeling, creating the digital twin in the port, on the vessel, and this will then help us, you know, with the data collected to be able to optimize and put in place the right models for the ship to operate safely and efficiently in the future. So I think this is one aspect that we do hope technology can help, you know, transform and move some of these developments more rapidly.
Chris, you want to add, what do you expect?
Yeah, I think it's an exciting times ahead, and I think with the advancements of communication, which is an enabler, I think with the advancements of AI, and the acknowledgement that data is key and standards need to be in place, I think we can see a lot more technological advancements in the maritime scope moving forward. And I think this will be in multiple areas. I think vessel operations and optimization will be a key component. I think when we start looking at the sustainability challenges that we have and we start looking at, how we can help that, I think things like AI are short-term solutions to that problem, especially if we look at the challenges that we'll have to start retrofitting vessels for alternative fuels moving forward. I think it will greatly improve crew welfare when we start looking at safety. We can start using AI, we can start using things like AR and VR to start better improving safety on board the vessel, start analysing data to start having far more sort of targeted safety campaigns on board the vessel. I think these sort of advancements will improve crew welfare, the crew operations and the vessel operations as a whole. But I think it's also important that the change management aspect is also considered because, shipping industry is quite a traditional industry and we need to ensure that when we're enabling these technologies on board the vessel, the crew are also being enabled and also brought along to the journey as well to ensure that they buy into this as well.
Gabriele, and you? PTA on 10,000 ships.
Yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it? First of all, I should thank our colleagues at Ardmore for the vote of confidence, but I think they have already reaped the benefits of that. Completely agree. I think the change management is key. It's one of the things that we see, one of the main hurdles of companies transitioning and trying to use AI is that it's a completely new way of working, is trusting a technology where before we were only trusting experience. We can be quite proud in this industry. So it's about having confidence in the technology. And I think it's, again, this type of solution is a not short-term, but probably mid-term solution because there will have to be new, let's say, heavy engineering technologies coming in. But certainly AI is a low-hanging fruit that can support with, certainly with up to the 2030 and onwards with the transition.
Lucius and Ashish, you are already satisfied as it is, or you are expecting more?
Well, I mean, given the global political challenges that we heard about earlier, maybe I take it to a higher level in the sense that I really hope that the global political challenges to free trade and multilateralism, I really hope that we can continue this sort of open dialogue and nourish also cross-geographically the activities to optimize the future of shipping. I hope that, with Ihan here, with the Singapore initiative on digitalization, but also there's similar in Athens and Oslo and other shipping hubs, that we are not forced to start working on individual solutions because there's no global availability of data, like free availability of data, that we don't have to go for nationalized or regional solutions. So that's, I guess, a little bit a different answer to your question, but I hope that in 5 years' time we will still be sitting here going for that global approach.
I think in 5 years, yes, definitely we'll be sitting here and probably it will be at a far, far different level. In shipping, generally we follow a more traditional approach, but it's fantastic to see all of us really on board. So some of us are doing it at a small extent, some are quite far ahead, but everybody more or less is involved. So for me, I see the advantages coming out in the next 5 years in 4 aspects. First is the safety and compliance. I definitely see that there is going to be an improvement on safety. Emergency preparedness, emergency following what actions to be taken, I think that AI is going to support us there. Second aspect I would like to talk about is sustainability. I see that definitely AI is going to be a tool which is going to support us in achieving our sustainable targets. Thirdly, operational efficiency. Definitely it's a no-brainer. We see that there are a lot of low-hanging fruits, a lot of data coming in, and it's
Ready to grab.
Exactly.
Good.
And the last and importantly is the people. So I see it adding a lot of value to the people, both ashore as well as on board the vessels. So reducing the administrative load, training them better, crew welfare, that I think are good enablers. Thank you.
Good. Thank you so much. Round of applause to our panelists.